Look at your life for a second. Look at the nights you cried when no one was there to wipe your tears. Look at the times they laughed at you, doubted you, called you weak, useless, a failure. You remember those voices, don't you? They echo in your head when you're alone. They thought you'd break. They thought you'd give up. They thought you'd stay on the ground. But let me ask you a question. Don't you want revenge on your enemies? Not with words, not with violence, but with success so loud, so undeniable, it drowns out every insult they ever threw at you. Imagine their faces when the person they tried to destroy comes back stronger, sharper, richer, more powerful than they could ever dream. That's the sweetest revenge. You don't owe them tears. You owe them silence. You owe them your grind. You owe them your victory. Every drop of sweat, every hour you put in is another nail in the coffin of their doubt. The world doesn't respect excuses. It respects results. And when you win, when you rise, their words will burn in their own throats. That's the revenge you were born to take. Pain is the teacher no one asks for, but it is the one that delivers the sharpest lessons. Every insult, every betrayal, every time you were underestimated is fuel thrown onto the fire that lives inside you. People don't realize that their rejection, their mockery, their doubt is not the end of you. It's the ignition of something far greater. When your enemies hurt you, they think they are breaking you down. But what they are really doing is giving you the very energy you need to rise above them. The sting of disrespect, the memory of humiliation, the feeling of being left behind, all of these emotions are pure power if you choose to channel them. The difference between the weak and the strong is that the weak crumble under pain, while the strong weaponize it. Pain becomes your secret advantage, your reason to work harder than anyone else. Think back to the nights you were left alone with nothing but your own thoughts. The nights when everything seemed to collapse around you, and you had no one to call, no one to rely on, and no one to understand what you were going through. Those moments were supposed to crush you, but instead they planted seeds. Seeds of resilience, seeds of hunger, seeds of revenge. Your enemies laughed because they thought they buried you, but they forgot one thing: when you bury a seed, it grows. Every insult they threw, every betrayal they committed, every time they doubted you, it's fertilizer for the roots of your greatness. You are not broken because of what they did. You are sharpened. You are carved out of struggle. The more they tried to push you down, the more reasons you had to climb higher than anyone ever expected. The pain that your enemies caused is not something to forget. It is something to remember vividly, to keep alive inside your chest, to let it fuel your every step. Imagine their voices when you're tired and feel like giving up. The very voices that said you weren't good enough. Instead of letting those voices destroy you, turn them into motivation. Every repetition in the gym, every late night spent grinding, every sacrifice you make, that is you proving them wrong. You have to want their disbelief to burn inside you so fiercely that you can't sleep until you've turned it into proof. Proof that you were never what they said you were. Proof that you're more. Proof that pain is nothing compared to your will. When people betray you, they give you the greatest gift they'll ever give: clarity. You see who's real and who's fake. You see who wanted you to win and who was secretly praying for your failure. That kind of pain cuts deep, but that cut forces you to build a thicker skin, a sharper edge, and an unbreakable mindset. Your enemies wanted you to fold, but instead you get stronger. They hand you a weapon every time they try to wound you, and the greatest weapon of all is not anger, but discipline. When you take that pain and pour it into your discipline, your training, your work, your goals, you create results that they cannot deny. Revenge is not chaos, it's mastery, and mastery is built out of pain. Your enemies gave you pain, so thank them silently, because they just gave you the very fuel that will make you unstoppable. Every moment of rejection is a reminder that you don't need validation. You don't need applause. You don't need their approval. The very people who tried to stop you are the reason you can't stop now. Without them, you'd have no fuel to burn when the nights get dark and the grind feels endless. But because of them, you wake up earlier, you work harder, and you push yourself to limits most people would never dare to reach. That pain, that humiliation, that anger, it's pure energy. And energy, when controlled, can build empires. Your enemies thought they were making you small, but what they really did was give you a bottomless well of energy. That is why your comeback will be greater than their entire existence. They unknowingly sponsored your rise with every ounce of pain they caused. Pain is the reason you will outlast them. While they live comfortably in mediocrity, laughing at others, you are building silently. You are sweating, bleeding, sacrificing, because you know pain is not a punishment but a currency. The more of it you endure, the richer your future becomes. Your enemies don't understand this. They only know how to throw words, how to stab you with doubt, how to betray you for their own comfort. But while they play small games, you are building a kingdom inside your chest. Every painful moment adds bricks to your empire. The more you hurt, the stronger your foundation becomes. That's why you'll win. Not because you're luckier, not because you're more talented, but because you were willing to turn pain into fire while they let comfort keep them weak. Revenge is often misunderstood. People think revenge means tearing others down, hurting them back, proving your strength through anger and destruction. But the truth is, revenge is not about lowering yourself to their level. It's about rising so high that they can no longer even touch you. Real revenge is building a life so powerful, so successful, and so untouchable that your enemies disappear in the shadow of your greatness. If you spend your energy trying to hurt them, you waste the very fuel they gave you. But if you pour that energy into elevating yourself, you transform pain into progress, hatred into hunger, and anger into achievement. Revenge is not about proving them wrong once. It's about living in such a way that your very existence is undeniable proof that they never mattered. Elevation is the purest form of revenge because nothing burns an enemy more than your success. Your enemies want to see you fail. They want to see you struggle. They want to see you drown in self-pity, stuck in the same place forever. That is why elevation hurts them more than any punch or insult ever could. Because when you rise, they are forced to face the reality they always feared. You were never the weak one. You were never the loser. You were never what they said you were. Their words become irrelevant the moment your actions speak louder. Elevation silences your enemies without you ever needing to open your mouth. The higher you rise, the smaller they become. The more you grow, the more invisible they are. That is the beauty of revenge done right. It doesn't destroy them directly. It destroys the very narrative they built about you. The sweetest revenge is standing at the top and realizing that you didn't need to ruin them, because they ruined themselves by underestimating you. Your enemies destroy their own pride when they see the one they doubted rise above them. They destroy their own ego when the person they mocked becomes the one they can't stop watching. Revenge is not fire that burns outward. It is a light that shines upward. And the brighter your light becomes, the more their darkness consumes them. If you truly want to crush your enemies, don't waste your energy on tearing them apart. Focus on elevating yourself so high that their existence fades into background noise, meaningless, forgotten, irrelevant to the empire you've built on your climb to greatness. Elevation means creating a life so powerful that they can't help but see you everywhere. It means building success in silence and letting results scream louder than anything they ever said about you. Your revenge is walking into a room with confidence, not needing validation, not seeking approval, because you already know you've built something they could never dream of. When you elevate, you no longer play the same game they're stuck in. They gossip, they laugh, they doubt. But you build, you rise, you conquer. And in time, the gap between you and them becomes so wide that they are no longer your enemies. They are simply spectators to a show they cannot control. That is the victory that matters. That is the revenge worth fighting for. Revenge through destruction leaves scars, but revenge through elevation leaves legacies. Your enemies may forget the words you throw back at them, but they will never forget the day they realized they could no longer keep up with you. That day when your success outshines their entire life, that moment when their jealousy eats them alive, that is eternal. Elevation is a form of revenge that doesn't just last a moment, it lasts a lifetime. You don't need to fight them. You don't need to waste your breath. You only need to rise so far that the fight is over before it even begins. That is the ultimate shift, from being someone they tried to bury to being someone they can never reach again. True revenge is not being better for a day or even for a year, it's staying better forever. It's making sure that no matter what your enemies do, they can never close the distance between where they are and where you've gone. It's creating wealth they can't imagine, strength they can't achieve, discipline they'll never understand, and a mindset they will never touch. When you elevate, you're not just winning once, you're winning constantly. Your life becomes a continuous reminder of their failure to hold you down. That is why revenge is not destruction, it's elevation. Destruction ends the story, elevation makes you the story, and stories of greatness echo forever. Revenge through elevation is a choice only the strong make. Weak people want to fight, to insult, to get even. Strong people know that the best way to get even is to build a life that no insult, no betrayal, no enemy can ever tear down. They tried to break you, but instead they became the architects of your rise. They gave you the pain and you turned it into power. They gave you doubt and you turned it into certainty. They gave you hate and you turned it into love for the grind. This is the essence of true revenge, using every weapon they fired at you as fuel for the fire that lifts you higher. Revenge is not destruction, revenge is elevation. Revenge is proving that no matter how hard they tried, you were always destined to rise. So when you walk out of here today, remember this: your enemies are not your curse, they are your gift. Every word of doubt they threw at you, every betrayal, every attempt to break you down was not the end of your story, it was the beginning of your rise. They gave you pain, and you used it as fuel. They gave you hate, and you turned it into discipline. They wanted you to drown, but you learned to swim in waters so deep they would never survive. That's why you can't waste your life chasing destruction, because true revenge is not in proving them wrong once. It's in elevating yourself so high that they can never reach you again. Success is the loudest revenge, power is the sweetest answer, and victory is the only closure you'll ever need. The day will come when your enemies look at you, not with laughter, but with silence, because they'll know they lost the war before it even began. So rise, grind, build, turn your scars into strength and your pain into purpose. Don't just survive, dominate, don't just exist. Conquer, don't just dream, achieve, and when you do, remember, it wasn't their love that made you great, it was their hate. That is your weapon, that is your gift, that is your revenge. Thank you for listening. God bless you, stay strong, and never stop fighting for the life you were born to live.